Brian O'Neill breaking in. We're going on live now. Congressman Tom Reed has called in. Good afternoon, Congressman.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Glad to be with you, and I hope everyone's staying safe.
Congressman Reed, as you well know, because you've been on the phone with the medical officials at the nursing homes and the hospital and Mayor John Buckley, and I'm sure others, Hornell is a hot spot. There were 2 deaths, one in Hornellsville, one in Hornell yesterday from COVID-19, and 5 new cases announced yesterday just in Hornell of COVID-19. About 10 minutes ago, I was on the phone with Dr. Ismail Mayer, the anesthesiologist and the head of the COVID-19 team at St. James. And Dr. Mayer says it's very, very busy at St. James right now and not calming down. In fact, he was heading to the hospital on a new case, I believe. Congressman Tom Reed, you've been a big help to St. James Hospital. Last night you sent out an email, $3.4 million in PPP funding, which is payroll funding, going to St. James Hospital. The St. James CEO, Brian O'Donovan, put out a statement saying that because of this funding, he's able to focus not on finance, but 100% of his time in supporting his hospital team and they're caring for patients.
Yeah, it's been just a great team effort, and to Brian and the folks at St. James, and we do a daily call with all our hospitals from Western New York, from Buffalo, Rochester, Jamestown, and Binghamton, and many other people during these times. And to be able to assist, get that Paycheck Protection Program loan over there to St. James, as well as Jones Memorial in Wellsville, it's critical so that we can keep these businesses, these hospitals, I should say, functioning financially so that they can take care of our health needs, not just with COVID-19, but remember, people are still having heart attacks, people are still having issues that end them up in the emergency room and in the hospital. And so it's a critical function to have our hospitals in existence, and just glad to have been able to put the program together, put them in contact with the lending institutions, and working as a team, we got them through the system as quick as possible. That's why we got to replenish this Paycheck Protection Program. It is significantly needed out in our communities, and this partisan politics that's clogging it up down in Washington right now is so frustrating. But we'll do our part to try to get it through and keep having good news stories such as this. Let the hospitals do what they do best, as Brian says, take care of our health needs throughout our communities.
Yes, it was $3.4 million to St. James for PPP funding. That's pretty much salary funding, and $4.5 million over to Jones Memorial Hospital in Wellsville. Both hospitals put out statements saying how grateful they were and how much this will help them keep things going. Congressman Reed, in your statement, you said that your office team can be contacted at Corning, Geneva, and Jamestown. Obviously, I think the people around here would call your Corning office. You said, I think it was in a press conference the other day, that you how many of the cases that you'd handled in helping people out with COVID-19 since the COVID situation started a few weeks ago. Do you remember what that number was of how many cases you've handled for constituent services?
Yeah, Brian, can you hear me, Ryan?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yeah, I can. Yeah, no, it's been thousands. I mean, it's just, we're helping out folks directly. We're helping out folks indirectly. Had a business with 1,200 families that were relying upon the jobs that were there. And it's a big opportunity to help people during this time. This is what our job is. And that our team at the office has stepped up in an amazing amount of effort and connecting people. Because, you talk about the hospitals, not just the Paycheck Protection Program, but we help out with Medicare out of D.C. in regards to some advanced payments. I regular meetings, virtual meetings, I should say, with health insurance carriers to try to push them to get more money out to our hospitals and providers. These hospitals are providing a critical need for communities, and keeping people employed is one of the top missions we have in the office, keeping people safe with the health care, but keeping people employed. And so we're doing it on the outside. We talk with Alstom all the time. We're working with them. We're trying to figure out ways to get them back in business full-time, and I'm part of the effort to try to break down New York into regions as opposed to Governor Cuomo's decision to put one-size-fits-all in place. And I'll just tell you, what happens in New York City is different than what happens here. It's a tough situation in New York City, but we're in a different region with different needs. We have different population densities, and I'll just tell you, we can do it. Talking to our hospitals, I know we can do it. We can do it safely. We need to get people back to work and get back to business.
Congressman Reed, any chance of persuading the governor to allow elective or unessential surgeries in this area anyway?
We're working on it as we speak. I just had a call this morning at our 11 o'clock Touch Buzz with our hospitals, and that was one of our topics from the networks out of Buffalo, Rochester, Jamestown, and Binghamton, and we talked to all of them in between. How can we do this safely? And I'll tell you, it's not going to be as if you're going to turn the lights on. Everyone's going to go right back to the hospital and to the doctor's office just like they were. You have to put protocols in place. You got to have to make sure that you're watching, you have the testing and other issues there. But, we're lining up the testing. We're lining up the resources, and we're putting together plans to tell the governor, you know what, yes, we can do this. Let's be what we do best. We're Americans. We're rough and tough Western New Yorkers. We know how to get things done. Let us do it. And rather than rely on government, let the people lead us on this effort. We'll set the standards at the government, but it's the wisdom and the innovation of the people that will get us back to business. And just glad to do it. And the other announcement I wanted to make, and don't want to miss time here, is the $19 billion that were stood with Secretary Perdue in regards to our farming communities. There's going to be direct assistance, $19 billion. That's $1 billion coming. And in particular, we weighed in with the $2.9 billion for dairy because, so many dairy farmers are in our area. So we're glad to see that relief come into our area as well as across the country for American farmers.
On your statement on that, Congressman Reed, it says the Corona Food Assistance Program is composed of two main components, direct financial relief to farmers and the USDA purchasing and distributing agricultural products. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so what you got is the direct purchase by the federal government of the product, so hopefully we can avoid this dumping that we can what you see with the milking and the plowing under of crops, and then use those as public resources to go to help our folks that are struggling, those folks that have been laid off, and you see the food bank, you see the other issues there, and it's about stabilizing the marketplaces for that have been essentially by government fiat, by government order. You've lost a tremendous amount of institutional demand. Be it our college, our college food services. Be it our local institutions that now the schools going down, all of that stuff has a ripple effect, and that's what this aid is all designed to do: is supplement that supply, but at the same time provide some demand relief so this food doesn't go to waste and starts going to people who need it at least, and be a little bit more productive than what we've seen so far. But it is bad out there. There's no doubt about it. But I'm very confident. Right? Standing together, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this.
Congressman Tom Reed on with us live on this Saturday afternoon. Former State Senator Kathy Young, who now works at Cornell, was on the show recently, and she said she's been on the phone with you a lot about this farmer situation. Out of these billions going to farmers, Congressman Reed, do you have a sense of what local farmers around here would be getting?
Yeah, no, obviously we've secured that specific line for the dairy farmers, that $2.9 billion. As to how many millions that flows through the system, it's going to be in the terms of millions in regards to where it ultimately filters down. But it's too soon to see exactly how exactly line by line that will go to the district. But having the allocation to dairy was critically important to me. We're keeping an eye on the grapes because that's something that's just around the corner, and we want to make sure that if this line is not available to our grape growers, because if this thing lingers on like the way a lot of people are anticipating, we're losing the tourism season potentially if the governor keeps us shut down and keeps us locked down and we can't access those and turn the lights on. So we're very sensitive to those in particular. The other ones, obviously, is the meat processors. We have some good meat producers that serve that industry of the ag community, and I'll just tell you, we're working all angles, and because this virus has shut down the U.S. economy across all spectrums. $22 trillion American economy pretty much turned off overnight that means every piece of agriculture economy has been impacted. And so the numbers are huge, and there's a huge amount of need out there. And my hope is we were just starting to see the sunrise on our dairy farmers in particular, with Mexico-Canada agreement being done. Now let's see if we get through this crisis, and let's get to the other side of this as quick as possible. So I know these farmers, they don't want to have government programs. They want to just be able to raise their cattle, produce their milk, and meet these markets and do it the old-fashioned American way. That's earn it with the sweat of your brow.
Congressman Tom Reed, I'm on this live here on this Saturday afternoon, April 18th. Congressman Reed, your feelings on the shutdown, which you referenced in your answer there. Hornell, which is a bad hot spot for COVID-19 versus other places in Steuben County, maybe like your hometown of Corning, where the COVID-19 situation is nowhere near as bad. Would it be better to open up one area at a time?
I think you could handle all of it, to be perfectly honest. I know Hornell is bad, and it's a hot spot, but, given what we're producing now, given what we're doing in regard to personal protective equipment, given what we're doing to supplement our personnel lines, given what we're doing in order to take care of our face mask and other issues that are there, even ventilators and respirators, God forbid we need that. And the point is that we've learned so much, and we've established so many different things working together. I can tell you, we have our access to our private suppliers, for example, at our office that we tap in to assist folks, nursing homes, hospitals, if they need some type of equipment. Then we go to the state emergency office, then we go to the federal emergency office, have direct contact with the White House and the Vice President's task force. And then we also have put together what I call the bubblegum and duct tape emergency lines that we've had to tap into on occasion to fill the need here. And so what I'm talking about is, even in Hornell, talking to our medical providers, talking to our folks of the community, we can deploy the necessary diagnostic testing, the necessary what they call serological testing, which is that immunity testing, and we can have that rapidly deployed across our communities, even Hornell, so that once you see these hotspots or you see these folks that are turning COVID-19 positive, you immediately diagnose the virus, you contain the exposure to it, and then you contain those who have been impacted by those individuals. And by having that rapid response, and that's what we talk about with testing, and I'll tell you, we've already are working on supply chains for our testing kits, both diagnostic to see the presence of the virus, and also those that diagnose the antibodies, that immunity stage. And I'll tell you, that's the plan we have to deploy. That's what we have to put together. And then we embrace the social distancing that we're all becoming familiar with. And in my humble opinion, ordering people to do something is maybe not the most productive way. I ask people, and just encourage people, wear a mask, because why? Because it's for your safety and for the safety of your loved ones and people that are our neighbors that may be strangers to you. But I think if you take that approach and you adopt these normal new behaviors, that new normal will be readily embraced by people, because they recognize they want to get back to work. They want to get back to some sort of normal life, and they recognize there's going to be impacts. It's not going to be the exact same life we had before, but we need to move forward. We need to. That's what we do as Americans. We don't stay on the sideline, and we don't wait till government fixes this and says it's completely safe to go out. We do best, and that's let government do what it has to do. But at the end of the day, it's up to us as individuals to lead the charge and get back to business.
Congressman Reed, do you have a few more minutes?
Please.
Stimulus Phase 4, some were expecting it to include direct aid to local governments, meaning city halls, village hall, town halls, to help cover the big revenue shortfalls they've been having because of the economic shutdown. And speaking with Mayor John Buckley recently, he said that this is something that you two have been talking about the last few weeks, Stimulus Phase 4 and direct aid to local governments.
Yeah, working with the mayor as well as all the NICOM, the Association of Counties of New York, as well as the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the National Conference of Counties. I will just tell you, this is something I'm keeping a real close eye on, because our local municipalities, being a former mayor, and that's why John Buckley and I think get along really well, I recognize the impacts on our communities have really impacted the ability of municipalities to meet their expenses, and the sales tax revenue going down, the room tax revenue going down from our hotel rooms. You're not seeing as much economic activity, so you're just not going to have people in a position potentially even pay their property tax bills, given that some of the property tax increases that people are talking about projecting because of the budgetary impact of this is huge. And so there is definitely a need for that local assistance, and it be direct local assistance, because I've been there. If it goes to Albany has a nasty habit of keeping all the money from the federal government there in Albany and not giving it to the local communities. And so not only do I want direct aid to our local communities, be it our city, villages, county, special districts like school districts, I want to make sure there's protection in that money so that when the governor tries to take it out of the other pocket, from the coffers of the state budget, we're not essentially giving money to the local governments by federal dollars, and then the governor taking out of the typical state dollars that they give to the local communities to take the corresponding amount away from them. This is about making them whole. This isn't about them breaking even at on the dime of the federal government. And I've seen the governor do that numerous times. He does it all the time, and we're always trying to protect those local governments because they're so sensitive in regards to their tax base and their ability to meet their operational budgets.
Speaking with Congressman Tom Reed, we talked about how you were on the phone a lot with Hornell Mayor John Buckley about Stimulus 4, and we understand you were also a big part of the conversations that went on about the Hornell Gardens situation, which resolved with the Hornell Gardens transferring out the non-COVID-19 patients to a facility in Seneca County. But you were a big part of those conversations, Congressman Reed.
Yeah, we were, and we got ahead of it about a week before it kind of went out in the public, obviously with some of the results going out that we're all familiar with now. And the reason why is because we do those daily calls with our hospitals, so obviously I know the hospitals keep me informed as to where tests are coming up, where things are potentially looking like a potential hotspot, and St. James has been involved in that, University of Rochester has been involved in that, and then also having known who these nursing homes facilities are, and we stay in contact with those owners. We take our representation serious and get to know the key stakeholders. And so I knew the owner of that operation by her work. I've worked with them over the years, and it was all about getting people in the room, people staying together on the same page, not becoming adversarial in any way, but just recognizing it's a stressful situation. It required relief, and it required coordination and collaboration, and that's what we were able to do. And kudos to John Buckley, kudos to Phil Palmisano, kudos to Marjorie Burns and State Senator Tom O'Mara. We all worked together as a team, not only on that deal, but all the deals, when we're talking all the time together. And that's how you get the best results. And so we were able to get Department of Health, the county officials, Jack Wheeler and his team, Tim and those guys over there doing a bang-up job. With what they're dealing with, and it's all about us working together, and that's what I think the people expect out of us. That's what I'm committed to doing. And the other thing about it that's so nice is we don't care who gets credit. We really don't. All the elected officials, all these officials that I work with, they don't care. They just want the people to be safe. They want us to deal with this stuff, and that's the best type of government. It's the old Ronald Reagan mantra. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you don't care who gets the credit.
Congressman Tom Reed, I got a call, it was over a week ago, from a local contractor who said that they've been having problems getting any answers from the unemployment, the Department of Labor on unemployment money. And he also mentioned he was having a hard time. And this was over a week ago on the small business loans and grants. I know that your office has been working, and your team has been working with people on issues like this. Is it any better with the Department of Labor, and how are things going with the small business loans and grants that some have been trying to get their hands on because of this tough economic situation?
So they still, the unemployment office is still overwhelmed. We're working where we can, helping people navigate that system. Put them in touch with some new apps that are out there. This Robinhood on the internet seems to be something that we're promoting, seems to have a good result, that has kind of put into place some private improvements on the unemployment processing. But we're also, working with our local state folks, because you remember unemployment is a state office, and so working in tandem with them, we've had some good success moving people through the system. But it just shows you the magnitude of the millions of people that are applying for unemployment. The system is just not designed for that, and the numbers are so extraordinary that the system just can't keep up with it. So we keep on trying to push them as fast as we possibly can. And it's the same thing with the economic injury disaster loans. That's you have your Check Protection Program, which is a small business administration essential program, but that's run by the banks and the credit unions. Then you got the economic injury disaster loans, which is a small business administration loan program that folks are probably more traditionally familiar with out of the SBA for disaster-related situations. And with those EDILs, there's a lot of people are familiar with them because they have a $10,000 essentially grant goes with them. They're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed, but we're just trying to get that money out to people from these programs, because these are small businesses that are trying to cover paychecks, trying to keep people employed, and that's what the Paycheck Protection Program was all about. The $3 billion there that we got to add more money to is to keep people attached to their employment, so they got a paycheck, they got health insurance, they still have access to retirement, and they have a job when we come out of this darkness. Because folks who are considering going to unemployment, and it's there, and if you have to go. And we have done so much work there to buttress that up. But recognize that, some people are maybe looking at going, I can make a little bit of extra money here. They hear about this extra $600 that was put in at the federal level. But I encourage people, that employer may not be there when we come out on the other end of this. So if you leave your employment, there's no guarantee that job is going to be there. There's no guarantee that employer is going to survive this. And so you may not have a job to go back to. So you may make a couple extra bucks here on unemployment in the short term, but I will tell you long term, much better in your interest to stay associated with that employer, with that paycheck, and help that person get through it. And then that way, when we open up the lights, you don't have to go through the whole job search, job dislocation that so many people do when they get into unemployment. But by no means am I saying don't go into unemployment if you need to. It's there. It's a resource. It's there to help you in these situations, but really encourage people to take a deep breath and weigh all the pros and cons, not just the short term. Look at the long term. And if you focus on the long term, we're going to get through this much better.
We've been speaking with Congressman Tom Reed, and over the last 24 hours, Congressman Tom Reed has worked on coming up with $19 billion for farmers, $4.5 million to Jones Memorial Hospital, $3.4 million from St. James Hospital here in Hornell. By the way, Congressman Reed, I got an email just a couple of minutes ago from Brian O'Donovan, the CEO at St. James. He says the census right now is at 60%. They have 12 inpatients with some COVID positive patients in isolation rooms. And the email goes on to say, Congressman Tom Reed has been a big supporter of St. James, and we are tremendously grateful for his leadership. A nice statement there.
And Brian is one of our aces, and I so appreciate all the hard work him and his team are doing, and just working with us. We're working with them. It literally is 24/7. Not only are we touch gloves calls every day in the morning, all the hospitals from the entire region, not just the district, but from Buffalo to Rochester, like I said, Jamestown to Binghamton, and all in between, but one-on-one calls. And his team has been outstanding. And thank God we got that new facility there at St. James. And we just, not that long ago, we were cutting the ribbon at the new facility and just opened it up. And that, as a community, kudos to the community for fighting for that hospital as hard as they did, because by that community effort and the mayor's effort and Tom O'Mara's effort, Phil Ponsano, Marjorie Burns, everybody working together, we were able to keep that hospital there. And what was the biggest message when they were going to shut it down? We said, we need this facility because we have health needs in our communities, and St. James is definitely demonstrating right now their worth, and thank God that we were able to secure and keep the hospital there.
Congressman Tom Reed, with that, we have to let you go. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thanks so much, Brian. Be safe. And we're here 24/7. Read.house.gov. Thanks so much.